Hey y'all, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Vashti Sarah, and you are tuned in to another episode of All the Things where we literally talk about all the things. So before we jump into today's topic, let's talk about our sponsor for today. Our sponsor is Every Life Diaper Company. My husband and I absolutely love them. We love their vision, their mission. We love that they're a Christian company. We love that they're pro-life. And obviously we love their diapers because we just had a baby. They are fragrance-free. It works well with our little girl. And they're leak proof. So it's everything that we could have asked for in a diaper and more, and in a company and more. So use my code VASHTI10 for 10% off your first order. That is VASHTI10 for 10% off your first order. So let's talk about our topic for today. Our topic is friendships that resemble matrimony, friendships that resemble marriage, friendships that act as if they're married when they're not even married or dating. And I'm not talking about if you're married and you have a friendship with the opposite sex. We've talked about that plenty of times, and we'll probably talk about it even more in the future. I'm talking about you are a single girl or single female, and you have a friend that's a guy. You're not dating him. You're not remotely attracted to him. But you act like you're married. You act as if y'all have been married for years, or you're in a relationship, or you have been in a relationship for years, and vice versa. So this is probably a concept that I will get heat on because it's just a norm where guys and girls act like they're married. They do things together. They confide in each other. And it's, this is normal. This is what we do. And the reality is, if we entertain relationships like this, it only brings doomsday per se in future relationships. It only brings harm in relationships that turn into marriage eventually, especially if that relationship isn't in the one that you're pretending to be in a relationship with currently. So individuals who seek out relationships like this don't often intentionally seek relationships out like this. It's not often intentional. A lot of the times it's because they lack that figure at home. So what I'm trying to say is here, if you are a female and you have a friendship with a guy that mimics marriage or resembles a marriage, it's probably because you don't have a strong father figure at home. You might have a father figure at home, but they might be absent emotionally. They might be absent entirely. And you are placing that person that you have a friendship with, you're giving them that responsibility to play that role in your life. And vice versa. If you're a guy, you might have a mom at home. If you're a male, sorry, and you might have a mom at home, or you might have a mom that is not at home or not present, and you are placing that responsibility, that role in that girl that you have a friendship relationship with. And I'll say friendship because relationship will sound like your boyfriend and girlfriend. I want to make it very clear. You guys aren't dating at all, but you have a friendship that resembles marriage. So the reality of this is that you have this codependency with this individual. You have blurred boundaries. You have unrealistic expectations. And the dangers that present themselves here is you end up developing emotional intimacy, dependency, and exclusivity with this individual. Emotional intimacy, you share everything about your life with them. They know the ins and outs. They know your deepest, darkest secrets. They know everything you struggle with. You talk every single day. You're constantly texting, constantly talking to each other. You guys know each other's schedule. You depend on each other. You depend on him to make you happy. You depend on him to bring you joy, vice versa. And you guys exclude yourself. So even if you are in a group of friends or a friend group, you guys still exclude yourself. You have your own relationship. You have your own quote unquote, you have your own jokes and things that just the two of you do together. And there's this mutual understanding, we might be in this friend group, but it's you and I. We're not in a relationship. We're not in a relationship at all, but you belong to me, I belong to you. Dangerous, let me tell you. So there are many pitfalls to this. Like I said, that codependency blurred boundaries and unrealistic expectations. Codependency, you guys both depend on each other to live, and that is dangerous because especially if you're a Christian who strives to be like Christ, strive to have a Christ-like life. If you are codependent on each other, then that means there's no room for Jesus. That person has become a God in your life, an idol in your life. And in order for you to have happiness and in order for you to have joy, that person needs to exist and constantly be within your realm in order for you to even live. Absolutely dangerous. Because even as a married woman, I am not codependent on my husband. I am still me, and I should never forget me, just as my husband Jared is still Jared and he should never forget him. We depend on each other, yes, to a certain degree, but he can still live. I can still live. Absolutely love my husband. I will take a billion, or like my nieces and nephews would say, 1 billion, trillion, quadrillion bullets for him. I would do anything for him, but I am still me. He is still him. He finds joy and happiness in the Lord. I find joy and happiness in the Lord. Yes, how we respond and treat each other might affect our day, but my joy remains in the Lord, just as his joy remains in the Lord. So there's that codependency. There's also blurred boundaries. So a lot of the times when these friendships that resemble marriage come about, you will see them holding hands. You will see them spending a lot of time with each other. You will see them cuddling. Some might even have sex with each other, but we're just friends. We're not in a relationship. We're just friends. But the moment you start acting as if you're married, you're creating a soul tie with that individual that is dangerous for future relationships. Well, not just future relationships, it is dangerous currently because you're living as if you're married. You're pretending as if you have a covenant when that covenant is non-existent. There's unrealistic expectations. A lot of the times, these girls in these friendships that mimic marriage have these expectations or place expectations on their guy friends that they should buy them flowers. They should be there at their beck and call. They should always take them out. And again, granted, you guys aren't dating. You're just friends, but you're mimicking a marriage. And guys, the guy might expect you to cuddle with them and meet their physical needs, might expect you to play the role of a wife of submission when you're not even his wife. You're not even in a relationship. You're not even dating. Absolutely dangerous. So this can impact other relationships, especially romantic ones and familiar bonds that you have in the future, because you've created a soul tie with someone. You've invested so much in someone that whenever your future spouse comes about, first of all, you won't have anything new to offer him because you already gave all of you to someone else. But second of all, because you've created a bond with this individual that is quote unquote just a friend, that bond carries with you in your marriage that will eventually or more than likely become a form of infidelity in the future. Why? Because you've created this tie, you've created this connection with someone that you can easily fall back on. So the moment you and your spouse are having a dispute, the moment you guys aren't in cahoots, you know who you can fall back on. Your good friend who's always there for you, who knows you, who knows the true you. Absolutely dangerous. If you don't create those boundaries before you get married with your friendships, your guy friends, your girlfriends, it creates room for infidelity in the future. It creates room for adultery in the future. And I know I will get heat for that, but it's just the truth. It's the nature of it. A lot of the times, the people that commit adultery, they don't commit adultery, for the most part, they don't commit adultery with some random stranger. Most adulteries aren't one-night stands. Most of them. The majority of them are friends that they have. The majority of them are relationships that never had the right boundaries, that went a little bit too far. So That's one of the impacts that you can have. Another one is jealousy, insecurity, and conflict. So let's talk about jealousy first. You can have jealousy, especially if you move from single to married and you didn't marry that individual that you have a really close bond with. You can create jealousy within your new marriage. Your wife will be jealous of that friendship that you had in the past, or might still be carrying with you. Your husband, same thing. You can create insecurity. Always the wife always thinking, is he talking to her? I know they're just friends and they were friends for 10 years before we got married, but am I their priority? Vice versa, the guy can feel the same way. And it can bring conflict. With jealousy and insecurity, always brings conflict. Well, you can compare your current you can compare your spouse with your friend. Well, they don't do this and they do that, and the list goes on. But it can also create jealousy, insecurity, and conflict prior to marriage. Your other friends, it can create jealousy with. Your other friends, it can create insecurity with and conflict because they feel like they aren't in the ends with you and your one friend that you have this bond with, that you're pretending or acting as if you're married to when you're not. You're acting as if you're in a relationship with, but you're not. So it's super, super dangerous. Have to be careful for those, especially if you end up getting married someday. You don't want to have a bond with someone that you're carrying with you into marriage. Like I said, it just opens the door for adultery in the future, but it also brings conflict with your spouse. It'll just become super messy. I've seen it time and time again. And that's why my husband and I create very strict, hard, fast rules in our home. Not to say that we're perfect. We have our flaws. We have our disputes. We have our fair share of seasons where we have difficulty. But when it comes to relationships, when it comes to saving or safeguarding our marriage, we are very strict on the relationships that we have outside of our marriage, especially opposite sex relationships. So it's important to communicate. It's important to be self-aware, and it's important to be independent. That's the key word there. And that's not saying you don't have dependency on Christ. Like, let's not be over spiritual here. The independence I'm talking about is you are not dependent on that friend to make you happy. You are not dependent on that friend to bring fulfillment in your life. Self-aware. Be aware that if you guys are just friends, you guys shouldn't be holding hands. You shouldn't be snuggling with each other. You shouldn't be having sex. That's an obvious one, hopefully, but you shouldn't be acting as if you're married when you're not, and especially if you're not in a relationship that is looking forward to marriage. Then you have to be self-aware and safeguard your heart and communicate with each other. Communicate the fact that, hey, we're just friends. I appreciate you. You're a great guy, you're a great girl, but we're just friends. We have to have boundaries. We can't be talking 24/7. We can't talk each other to sleep. We shouldn't be texting this much, or I shouldn't know that part of your life, especially if it's something that's super intimate or physical. I shouldn't know about that. So have that communication line open and make it very clear what your relationship is or what your friendship is. Be self-aware and strive to be independent. Your happiness, your joy shouldn't be dependent on someone else. Like I said, I am a happy, joyful person. My husband is happy and joyful, even though some might say he wears a mean mugging face, but that's just his resting face. But he is happy and joyful outside of our marriage as well. And that's what it means to be a Christian. In the simplest form is finding joy in Christ because you have your salvation in the Lord. So one of the things I wanted to stress here is to seek help. And I would say seek professional help. If you have created a bond, a soul tie with an individual that you're not in a relationship with, you're not planning to marry, and you're not married to, seek professional help. Seek counseling, seek pastoral counseling, because you've created a soul tie with someone that can only be broken. And this is speaking from a Christian perspective, that can only be broken through Christ. that soul tie that you've created will carry on with you for the rest of your life unless you address it. And discuss the signs that this friendship may be unhealthy and detrimental to your well-being. That person might be manipulative. Yes, you're just friends, but they might be manipulative. Well, you can't go there. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Discuss those unhealthy things that are detrimental. Discuss the habits. Discuss the words that are used. Discuss the things that are done that are unhealthy, and make that very clear, even to that individual, not just to your counselor or spiritual advisor. Make that clear to the individual that you are in friendship with. Hey, these are the things that are not okay with me. We are just friends. You shouldn't have the ability to speak into my life the way you do. You have no right to speak into my life the way you do. Even though we're friends, even though we, go way back, but you have no place or authority in my life like the way you are acting or wanting to. So in closing, I wanted to stress the importance of guarding your heart. And, the Bible stresses this. In Proverbs 4:23, it says, King Solomon, who is one of the wisest men in the Bible, says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And the key word I wanted to emphasize there is life. It is the wellspring of your life. And a lot of the times when we have these relationships prior to marriage, these friendships that resemble marriage, it sucks the life out of you and you don't really have a life. And when you do end up being married, you again don't have a life. You don't have that wellspring of life, because it brings conflict, it brings chaos, it brings jealousy, it brings everything you can think of. So guard your heart. Your heart is extremely valuable. And whenever you create a soul tie or a bond with someone, that value in your heart, quote unquote, decreases because you're sharing it with someone else that is not even your spouse. That's not going to be someone of authority in your life for the rest of your life. So we don't want to guard worthless things, and your heart is not worthless. It is of tremendous worth. It's invaluable. So guard your heart because it is extremely, extremely valuable. Guard your heart because it's the source of everything you do. So whatever you allow to go in is probably what's going to come out. So guard your heart. Don't allow anyone to speak into your life, or especially that friendship that looks like a marriage. Don't allow that friendship to become one that looks like a marriage. Don't And it all boils down to what you, again, allow in your heart. So if you allow in your heart insecurity, if you allow in your heart bitterness because you don't have a dad, insecurity because, you don't have that father figure, or because someone hurt you and now you're placing that role in that friendship that you have, it, again, super detrimental. It only will bring hurt and pain and chaos, not just present, but also in the future. And then thirdly, guard your heart because it is under constant attack. Your heart is one of the things the enemy tries to attack time and time again. Another one is your mind. The battlefield of the mind is a real thing, but the mind is connected to the heart, and what you think about is what's in your heart. What's in your heart is what you think about. So guard your heart. If your heart is unhealthy, it threatens everything else. It threatens family, friends, career, everything. And I will say that again. If your heart is unhealthy, it threatens everything else. It threatens your family, your friends, career, everything. So, friendships that mimic marriage, friendships that look like marriage. I want to encourage you that if you have a friendship like that, to not wait and say, oh, tomorrow I'll address it. Next week I'll address it. I want to encourage you to, in this moment, text that person and let them know, hey, we need to talk. And find a counselor, find a mentor, someone to confide in and let them know, hey, I have this unhealthy relationship with my friend and we act as if we're married, and I want to break this emotional, spiritual soul tie, this bond that I have with them. Otherwise, if you wait too late, one, you'll probably never get married, and that sounds super harsh, but that's just the reality of it, because most people won't date someone or get married to someone that looks, if that person looks like they're in a relationship with someone else or can't break that tie with a friendship that they have. But number two, if you do end up getting married, it will bring a lot of chaos in your home, and it is just super unhealthy. You can't be married to two people. Well, technically, you can pretend like you're married to two people, but it will never work out. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. Pretty serious, kind of, maybe not really, maybe controversial, I don't know, but let me know your feedback. Let me know what you think, your thoughts on this topic. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week. Every Wednesday we drop an episode, and enjoy your day, enjoy your the rest of your week, and yeah, I'll see y'all next time.